afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Where are you coming from? Where are you joining us from? Nigeria? Are you with us here in West Africa? Are you in Southern Africa? Are you in Central Africa, Northern Africa, Eastern Africa? Wherever you are joining us from, I say welcome, welcome, welcome to every one of you. Please, as you are joining, please mute. As you are joining, kindly mute your audio so that we can all enjoy this session. As you're joining in, please mute your audio. Welcome, welcome. Let us take a minute to allow everyone here to join. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, 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 welcome to every one of us here. Welcome to May's edition of our AgriFunding series. AgriFunding series. We started in February and we are in May already. We have had series of workshops since February till today. And if you missed any of the previous sessions, just go and look for us on YouTube. Find us on YouTube, African Food Change Makers, and you will see previous editions of our AgriFunding series. Very rich, gives you insights on how to access funding, how to approach your investors, and the likes. Today, we'll be talking about building investor confidence. Building investors' confidence. So, if you have that opportunity and somebody calls you and say, oh, I have somebody who would be interested in your business and I want to arrange a meeting for the two of you. I want you to meet this organization business. Will you be able to communicate that value to that investor? So it's not enough to have a business idea. It's not enough to have a fantastic idea. It's not enough to have huge value, of your business. It's not enough to know a lot about your business. You need to also learn how to communicate that value to anyone who would be interested in putting money into your business. You would want to know what information would matter. You will not come for an investor before your investor and start giving too much information, telling them this, the technical here and there. I don't think he's interested in that. He will want to know, how will this make money for you and me? How will this add value to the society? Okay, so it's important that we all know what the investor wants to see whenever we have the opportunity to have that meeting. When we are told to put together a pitch, what would we need to do? So let us hit the ball rolling. But it's important to know that this session is not only for the English speakers, but also our Francophone audience. So if you are French, wherever you are joining us from and you speak French, we have a French interpreter with us. All you need to do, log in into this meeting on Zoom and mute audio as you enter. All you need to do is to log into the meeting on Zoom and mute your audio as you enter. Click the interpretation button fourth from the right and select your preferred language. You will hear the translated audio and the original audio at a lower volume to better understand the tone and intonation of the original speaker. If you wish not to hear the original speaker, click mute original audio to hear only the interpreter. So if you're a Francophone, if you're a French speaker, move straight to the interpretation room. You would see just down below that you see interpretation, click on it and click on French. Now that we are all settled, So we already have 150 persons in with us already. We hope to have more. Let us go on with the agenda for today. Next slide. Now, here's the agenda for today. The welcome introduction, like I have welcomed you. A quick poll. Then we'll have about AFC and then membership drive before we introduce our facilitator for today. We would have the workshop session. We'll have our Q&As, group photograph, and tell you what to expect next month. Make sure you listen attentively and take notes, because you have opportunity to ask any question that you would love to ask. Don't take today's session for granted, I beg you. Now it is time for introduction. My name is Ebere Oko, Membership Coordinator at the African Food Changemakers, and I want everybody on this call to drop on the chat box their name, the name of their organization, their business name, what you do, what products do you offer, what service do you offer, and where are you joining us from, your location, state, country. Drop it on the chat box. Let us see you. I always say this, every webinar like this, every session like this is an opportunity to network. A lot of people find new customers on this chat box. A lot of people find new partners on this chat box. So don't be too, comfortable where you are. Come to the chat box, introduce yourself, your name, your business name, the product or service that you're offering, and your location. Who knows? Someone will take interest in your business and want to connect with you. So while we are all connecting in the chat box, please let us also know, how are you feeling today? What is your excitement level? Are you happy? Are you excited about today's class? Or you are indifferent? Or are you looking forward to learning something today? Drop it also in the chat box. Let us know how you're doing, how you're feeling, how is business on your end. While we are doing that, I would like us to have a quick poll. This poll is important just to help us know if we already have background knowledge of today's session and what you expect to learn from today's session. This would also guide us and guide the facilitator on what exactly should be focused on. So let us have the poll up while we continue our introduction on the chat box. So the poll is up. And we have these questions. The number, confirm everyone here can see the poll, please. Confirm you can see the poll on your screen. If you can see this poll on your screen, type on the chat box, I can see this poll on my screen. The first question on the poll is, how confident are you in your ability to clearly communicate your business value proposition to investors? Oh, I'm already seeing very confident. Okay, that is interesting. The next question is, which part of pitching your business do you find most challenging? 40% is already saying structuring the pitch deck, okay? Some are saying telling a compelling business story. That can be challenging because what exactly is going to be interesting to an investor? Demonstrating financial viability, okay? Answering investor questions. And then some of you are saying that you've never pitched yet. Okay, we are still going. Please keep filling this survey. We have over 140 participants here. So let us have a good number from you. Have you ever received feedback from an investor that helped you improve your pitch? Okay, this is good. This is good. When preparing a pitch, what do you prioritize the most? And finally, in your opinion, what builds the most investor confidence in an agribusiness? Strong market traction with transparent and credible financials, scalable and sustainable business model, transparent and credible financials, passionate and capable team, all of the above. Okay, so far we have just 43 and we are going. Thank you very much for participating in this poll. Just keep this poll going. Keep it going, keep this poll going. Thank you. Thank you. We already have 65. Keep the poll going. Let us know how many. I would love us to have 100. Maybe when we get to 100 respondents, we would end the poll. Keep it going. While if you are done with the poll, continue connecting on the chat in the chat room. Or don't stop connecting. Once you are done with the poll, continue connecting with others in the chat room. Go through the messages you are seeing on the chat and see if there's anyone that will strike you, anyone you will resonate with. Okay, we already have 74. Don't stop, don't stop. Where are we? 75. Let's see if we can get 100. 100 responses. Can we get 100 responses? We have 75 already. Can we get 100 responses? Don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. Okay, 76 now. If you have not filled the poll or if you are just joining us, welcome. If you are just joining us, welcome. We want to just know how ready you are for today's webinar. We want to know the level of knowledge you have on today's topic, and we want to know what you would love to learn from today's topic. So please, as you're joining us, kindly fill in the poll. That is the section we are in right now. We are filling up this poll just to know your level of knowledge on today's topic. And I'm very sure that our facilitator is in here listening and she's seeing what's going on. So she too would know where to focus her energy on. She wants to love to know how firm, how strong your knowledge is on today's session. Good. I can see us getting to 100. I'm sure we'll be able to get at least 100. Fantastic. 92 responses already. Good, good, good. As you join in, please fill this poll for us. As you join in, please fill this poll for us. 98. Once we just get 2 more, we'll close the poll. 98 responses. We just need 2 persons. Yes, 1 more person. So we'll shut down the poll quickly. Thank you very much. Now we have 100 responses. Let us end this poll and see our results. The very first question, how confident are you in your ability to clearly communicate your business value proposition to investors? 53% of 100 respondents said they are very confident. Wow. 33% says somewhat confident, 8% neutral, 4% not confident, 2% said they really need help with this. Okay. Okay. Number 2, which part of pitching your business do you find most challenging? 30% say they struggle with structuring the pitch deck. 22% say they struggle with telling a compelling business story. 32% says they struggle with demonstrating financial viability. 6% say they struggle with answering investor questions, and 10% say they have never pitched ever. I'm hoping that after today's session, you will begin to pitch your businesses to investors or whatever opportunities that are out there. Have you ever received feedback from an investor that helped you improve your pitch? 34% says yes, and it made a huge difference. Wonderful. 11% says yes, but it was not useful. 37% says they've never received a feedback at all. When preparing a pitch, what do you prioritize most? 36% say they prioritize market opportunity and size. Okay, that is also very interesting. 39% say they prioritize financial projections and ROI. Yeah, the numbers. 2% says they prioritize founder and team background. 14% says social and environmental impact. 9% says product and service features. Finally, in your opinion, what builds the most investor confidence in an agribusiness? 30% says strong market traction with transparent and credible financials. Absolutely. 31% scalable and sustainable business model. 6% transparent and credible financials. 1% says passionate and capable team. 32% says all of the above. Please, high five to the 32%. All right, so we'll stop sharing the screen. Thank you very much for participating in this poll. Thumbs up to everyone who have participated. Let us now proceed with the rest of today's session. So the assumption now is that a number of us on this call do not know what African food chain makers is about. So I will give a very, very short introduction about African food chain makers and visit our website afterwards so you will learn more about us. We are a non-profit organization and we are committed to helping African agripreneurs like yourselves scale resilient and sustainable agribusinesses that feed Africa and the world. And we do this by providing access to funding opportunities, training opportunities, exposure. When I say exposure, brand visibility, that is what I mean. Trade linkages, market access, like you would call it, and access to a vibrant community of agripreneurs that we call the change makers. That community, I will speak more about it later. We have three basic programs that we do, three major programs that we run as African food chain makers. The first one is on climate, building resilience against climate and environmental shocks, BRACE for short. Some of you here must have attended BRACE. A lot of you have not attended BRACE, and you missed out on this batch cohort. But when the next cohort comes, you will get, if you've not joined us, we'll send you a notification for you to join. You need to join this BRACE program. BRACE program is designed for you to learn how to manage your businesses in spite of the climate change. So even as a farmer, a processor, whatever is happening in the climate is not your business. You have strategies to protect your products, protect your produce, protect your business from climate shocks, climate change, environmental shocks. So don't miss this. And there are a lot of funding opportunities around this, a lot of funding opportunities that support businesses that are climate smart. So you need to upskill so that you can upscale. So once the next call for application for the BRACE program, once you see it on your timeline, don't scroll past. Make sure you apply to participate. We have the Leading African Women in Food Fellowship. This program is designed for women to help amplify the voices of women doing great work in agri and food. We have a lot of women doing a lot of things in agri, producing, farming, even tech. But nobody knows about them. We want them now to be known. So that is what the Leading African Women in Food Fellowship is about. The program is currently ongoing for this year. The next session will be next year. And once that happens, we'll definitely inform you so that you can participate in the program. And then we have the Scaling Export Program. As the name implies, we don't want you to just sell here or wherever you are, in your own community. No, we want you to begin to send your products outside your country, outside your community, even outside the continent. We want your products on the shelves in US, in Mexico, in Canada, in the UK, everywhere. We want your products everywhere. And so we designed the Scaling Export Program to give you the capacity, to give you the knowledge, the skills, the information that you need to scale your business onto export operations. And then the vibrant community of agri-food food change makers. Next slide so that I can take you through our community. Next slide. Yes. So the African food chain makers community is like a virtual village of everyone doing agri and food. And in this virtual village, everybody or every member of that village, allow me to use the word village so that everybody can understand. Every member of that village can easily connect with themselves, regardless of their location. So you can connect with yourselves, you can learn from each other, you can support each other, you can collaborate on different kinds of businesses. And guess what? We have over 7,000 agripreneurs in our community from 49 African countries. So when you join this community, you are not just connecting with people from your country. You are not just going to sell to people in your country. You end up selling. If you are in Nigeria, you are selling to somebody in Rwanda. You are selling to somebody in Kenya. Everybody is seeing your business. Everybody is helping. Oh, I like these products that you are doing. Oh, I can promote it in my country, Kenya. That is what happens in the African food chain makers community. That community that fosters peer-to-peer support, the community that fosters collaboration amongst agripreneurs. You cannot do it alone. We've been working in silos over the years. It is time for us to work together. And as AFC, what we do for the community, we figure out different trainings like we are doing today that will help you scale your business. So we know that you have done a lot of programs now and then, but there is change. Always, in fact, the agri-food ecosystem is dynamic. There is change, there is new information every day. And as AFC, we bring this information to you in the community. We share resources, opportunities that are out there, funding opportunities, training opportunities, networking opportunities, trade fairs. We bring all this information to everybody in the community and say, hey, there's an opportunity you shouldn't sleep on. Jump on this, apply for this, apply for that. If you don't belong to a community like this, a lot of things will be happening out there and you will not know. You will miss out on a lot of things. Join the African food chain makers today. I don't want to say much. Let me just tell you how you can join while my colleague will drop the joining link on the chat box. All you need to do to join, visit our website www.africanafchub.org www.afchub.org and click on the join the community icon. Once you click on the join the community icon, you will see a series of questions that you will be asked. They would ask you if you're an agripreneur, if you have an agribusiness operating in Africa. That is an eligibility criteria. You must have a business in Africa, agribusiness, no other business, please. And you should have been operating for at least 6 months. And you should have a social media account, at least a website, preferably. But if you don't have a website for your business, you should at least have a social media account that we can find you with. We can verify that, oh, truly you are doing this business, and then we'll verify you. Just please be patient and fill up those questions. Every question that's been asked is important. And we ask all of these questions to ensure that our community is safe. When you are done with filling those questions and uploading your company registration certificate or any document to indicate that your company is registered, you have your logo, you upload your logo. Once you are done, you click submit. When you submit, we on our end will verify your application just to ensure that we are only accepting people who are agripreneurs in Africa. They are verifiable. We can find them. They have a location, and everybody can easily, interact, run transactions safely and securely. So my colleague here has dropped a link for you on the chat box. Please go to the chat box and join our community. While we are doing that, let us move on to the next slide, please. Okay, so recently we onboarded very, very strong personalities in Africa that are doing great things in their own countries, in their own regions, in their own value chains. We reached out to them, we identified them, reached out to them, and they accepted to become our ambassadors. We are thrilled to introduce to you some of our newest leaders. They are our ambassadors. They are our community ambassadors. Today, we have 36 value chain ambassadors. We have 10 regional ambassadors. We have 10 narrative changers. All of these people, if you are a member of our community already, will connect with you either in the capacity of regional ambassadors, either in the capacity of value chain ambassadors, they will connect with you. So please be open to them when they connect. There is a way to introduce themselves so that you don't you know who is real, who is a true ambassador, and who is trying to be mischievous. So we have our 56 new ambassadors that have joined us. Before the end of this week, we would have them on our website so that you can always make reference to them. You can see them and see their profile. These remarkable change makers have stepped up to support and expand the AS mission in their local communities. If you are one of them, our dear ambassadors, if you are on this call, drop an emoji or to our ambassadors. We are grateful to have you with us. This journey is better because of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much for accepting to be with us. Yeah, our ambassadors. Thank you. Now to the very reason why we are here. Today, we have with us our facilitator, Tosin Ojo, a partner at Sahel Capital. And allow me to briefly go through her profile. Tosin is a partner at Sahel Capital Agribusiness Managers, a leading agribusiness private equity firm in sub-Saharan Africa. At Sahel Capital, Tosin is the lead for Sahel Capital's private equity team. In this role, she leads fundraising activities, deal origination. Are you paying attention? This is the person that you need for this class. She also leads execution and supports the executives of portfolio companies in driving value creation. Tosin has over 17 years of experience in private equity, financial advisory, asset management, and investment research. Prior to Sahel Capital, Tosin led Verbal Heights, a financial advisory firm she founded. And she has previously worked at Chapel Hill, Denham, Cardinal Stone, Vertiva, and Stanbic IBTC Bank. Outside her full-time role at Sahel Capital, she is chair at the Mutual Funds Investment Committee for ARM Investment Managers, which manages over 100 billion naira across 7 mutual funds. She is also an independent member of the Investment Committee for PV Capital, the investment arm of PiggyVest, the leading savings and investment fintech in Nigeria. I hope you all are clapping. Tosin is a CFA charter holder. She holds a bachelor's degree, first class honors, from Obafemi Awolowo University, Nigeria, and an MBA from the University of Oxford, Side Business School, UK. With a virtual round of applause, let us welcome to the podium Tosin Ojo. I want everybody clapping as she comes up and turn on her video. Everybody clapping as she turns on her video and her slides come up. I just want to keep seeing clap. I just want to keep seeing clap emojis. Let the clap emojis keep coming. Beautiful. Until her slides come up. Just keep clapping. Keep clapping. You know, if we're all here, everywhere will be rolling. You know, you'll be hearing. So we're clapping. Thank you so much, Tosin, for joining us today. We are blessed to have you with us, and we are looking forward to learning and gathering everything from your own experience, your work. We want to learn from you. We can't wait. Thank you so much for accepting to join us. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Ebere. Good afternoon, everyone. Please, can you confirm that you can hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm also sharing screen. Can you please confirm that you can see my screen? Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay, I don't think I'm sharing it. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see is your screen. Yeah.
Okay. All, all right. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Ebere, for that, well, very warm and kind introductions. I say good afternoon to all the entrepreneurs on the call. And it's great knowing of the work that you're doing in the agribusiness value chain. I think in the next maybe 30 minutes, we'll be talking about building investor confidence and effectively something about how do you navigate fundraising. Much more beyond the pitch itself, how to pitch, but a few things that are important to note when you're dealing with fundraising. As Iberi said, I'm on the investor side as a partner at Sahel Capital, and we are an agribusiness private investment firm, debt and equity investments that will do. She's already done a little bit of introduction about us, but first two slides just introducing Sahel Capital effectively. So I'm an investor in some way, even though I also fundraise because I'm an intermediary. We raise money from bigger institutional investors, and then we invest in SMEs and maybe slightly bigger companies than SMEs. We are a team of 21 people in 3 countries in Africa, and we've raised $100 million in the last 12 plus years. We've done about 31 investments across equity and debt, actually in 7 countries. I think as of the date of this slide, it was 5, but now in 7 countries, both in West and East Africa. And the way we have done investment is highlighted on the map. We have physical offices in Lagos, Abidjan, and Nairobi. Okay, now to the question, to the conversation for today. Why investor confidence matters. One of the things I want to start with and to emphasize, which a lot of probably entrepreneurs and people generally do not know when they are raising money, is that the first thing you need to do is to connect with an investor. Before you start going into figures, opportunity, numbers, and stuff like that, big part of the work is to first connect, because people only invest in people they like and trust. That's the first thing. It's a very soft thing. A lot of the courses you probably do or have done on pitching tells you about, oh, you have to talk about market traction, you have to talk about the size of the opportunity and all of those things. The reality is that if you have 2 minutes with an investor and you're going straight into all of the market opportunity, the traction, the great thing that you're doing, in that 2 minutes, yes, you've spoken, but the reality is he really won't remember you much. There's this saying that people remember how you make them feel than what you say. And elements of likeness, trust, and admirability are all like sort of softer things. But 70% of fundraising is actually first connecting with the investor. Likability and affinity bias plays a big role in breaking down investors' initial barrier. All of us have initial bias towards any people. You might see someone and for no reason, you just have a particular bias. It might be unconscious bias, actually, but you have it, right? So some of the things that we call affinity bias, let me unpack it a little bit. People like people who look like them. That's the reason why only 2% of VC funding goes to women, because most of the people on the other side allocating capital are men. It is deep unconscious bias. They don't even know they are doing it, but people like people who look like them. And that's why you get into somewhere, you see somebody that is black, you're immediately comfortable. You get into somewhere, someone that is white, you're white, you're immediately comfortable. You get somewhere, someone that speaks your language, you're immediately comfortable. I've been in a process fundraising before where I was trying to talk to a French institutional investor, and all of the profile of the things were connecting, but we're hitting a brick wall. And then I had to bring my colleague who is francophone and French and speaks fluent French to connect with the investor. And the connection was done. So that's the first thing. And if you don't take anything out of this today, is remember that 70% of fundraising is first, you need to break down barriers so that people like you. Because people only invest in people that they like and trust and admire. Likeness comes before trust, and then it comes to admirability, right? That's 70% of fundraising. 30% is on your ad numbers, your financial statement, your market opportunity, the traction that you have had. 70% is that likability. Likability is reinforced by competence. So if somebody already has an opinion of you because of gender, because of whatever, because they like you, then competence and every other thing you've done will be reinforced or may not be reinforced, right? So that then adjusts that likability factor up or down, depending on your competence. That's the first. Now, so the first task is to connect with the investor. Yeah, to connect with the investor. Now, after you connect, so how do you connect? So that's the question. How do you connect with an investor? You must learn the hack of storytelling. Remember what I said, that people remember how people make them feel much more than what is said. Storytelling helps people connect with their emotive side rather than focusing on the facts or the ad numbers, especially when you have a short time to make an impression. You're sitting in front of an audience, a panel of judges, or you're talking to some investors, you have 5 minutes. Your focus should be, how do you tell your story in a way that is emotive and brings connection? So no matter how great you are as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, as an MD, you must master the art of storytelling. Have you wondered why some politicians just stand on the podium and they tell stories? They tell stories that absolutely connect with people, and people don't ask any further questions. Whatever it is they've done, right? Because storytelling connects, and your first task is to connect with the investor. So the big task for you is you need to build your storytelling skills. You have to be able to tell your story. You have to learn how to tell the story in an authentic manner. Now, when I say storytelling, don't go and tell some, is it cock and bull story they call it, or something that sounds very, very bogus. You need to tell. It has to be your story. It has to be real. It has to be relatable. It has to be authentic. If you're telling a bogus story, they know. Trust me, they know. Because the authenticity with which you tell a very real story that is personal to you is different from how you tell something that you just form, right? And when I said story, it doesn't mean that it has to be huge. It doesn't have to be, oh, somebody died and then you came to a eureka moment and said, oh, this is how you came about the solution. No. But the first is to find the story, you need to figure out the why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you solving the problem that you're solving? You should be able to pitch your business in 2 minutes. Through storytelling, you clearly articulate the solution you bring, the problem you're solving, the why you are the one solving it, the why that problem matters to you. That's the story. That's the story. You can tell it in 30 seconds. Why that problem matters to you, and why you are best positioned, or one of the people best positioned to tell the story, to solve that problem. So the solution you bring, the problem you are solving, the why that connects the problem and the story, the why you are involved in it, why you are doing it, in a very, very personal sense. Don't come and tell a story that why you are doing it is because there's climate change. Everybody knows there's climate change. So how has it affected you that made you come to the realization that, for example, you want to do something in sustainable or regenerative agriculture? I just made that up as an example, right? So you articulate the solution, you tell the problem, you talked about the why, you talked about the progress you have made so far, why the opportunity is big and now it is big. You can do all of that in 2 minutes. Crisp, clear, concise manner. If you can, one of the things that can help you is that you can flow chart your thoughts, write things down. Write things down, make sure that what you have written down is real. I mean, it's very authentic to you. And then practice. We're not saying cram. We're saying write it down first. So you think about it and you write it down, and then you practice how it flows. You practice how it flows until it becomes natural to you, right? To tell the story. Now, this storytelling, some people are more gifted than some, unfortunately. There are some people that are great storytellers. They don't need to write anything down. You see them like this, boom, 2 minutes, they have the whole room. Everybody likes them. Everybody is wow. Well, That's the advantage. If you are not like that and you need to raise money, I'm sorry, it's a skill you have to learn. It does not matter how great you are as a CEO, how great your numbers are. People have to connect with you before they look at your numbers. So that's a skill you have to learn, right? And you have to be able to tell it in a concise, crisp, clear manner. Now, after you've connected, all of the other things you probably have known before now that you should focus on. What is the vision, the team behind it? How strong is the team, their profile, your market validation, how big is the opportunity, how big is the market, the traction you've had, transparency around your governance, of course, numbers, sound financials, all of that. Now, if you're doing this in a presentation, then of course you put all of these things after you've, broken that initial barrier. My focus today is not really on making the presentation. It's on when you come face to face with an investor, how do you make an impression that the investor does not forget? That even, there are investors that they cannot invest in what you're doing because of institutional limitations. Maybe it's not their sector. Maybe it's not within their ticket size. But the story resonates so much with them. You leave so much of an impression. They connect you to somebody else. They say, you know what? Let me see what I can do. Maybe you can speak to this person. Maybe you can speak to that person. My emphasis today is not on the presentation because trust me, you can go online and even use ChatGPT or Gemini. You do a fantastic investor deck. The emphasis is when you see an investor, how do you connect? How do you pitch your story and connect such that the remaining 30% is almost, easy to scale? Now, transparency builds trust. I'm going to connect this transparency to what I said about authenticity. Don't tell stories that you learn from somebody, basically don't lie, right? Because you're trying to find something that is, big. For lack of better word, it's almost like saying you have to be vulnerable and be able to tell your story in a transparent manner. Be willing to share where you have failed and what you learned when you ask questions, right? Be able to, answer difficult questions. Be able to where you have struggles in your business, be able to say this part and this part, we're still trying to get it right. And these are the things we've done, these are the things we're doing. Don't think that you have to put this front and this package together where it then becomes very clear that you're hiding something. Now, the next couple of slides just really talking about a lot of people are trying to raise funds, right? It's just talking about fundraising itself. Now, fundraising, at every point in time, there's a finite amount of capital in the world. Today, we can estimate the total amount of capital stock in the world, total amount that is in the world. So it's finite. If we can do that analysis, we can come up to a figure. The total wealth, the total capital in the world, we can come up with it. But there's so many people, many people trying to raise funds for necessary reasons, unnecessary reasons, whatever. People always have needs trying to raise funds. Investors have a difficult job, despite all of the biases that I've mentioned. Now, to be fair, some of those biases are not conscious. It's not like when somebody sees you and you sound like you come from abroad. Let me use that word. And it's a Nigerian investor. They're like, all these abroad people, they are not grounded, they are not rooted, they don't have street credibility, they don't have street intelligence. Well, it's not like the person wants to be bad to you, right? We all have unconscious biases where we formed opinions about certain people. Maybe somebody hears your accent because you did a lot of years in the US or UK, and you have this accent, and you're pitching to a domestic investor, and the person, everything you say just fall on, deaf ears, and they just feel like this one is Ajebota, or this one does not understand street, how to do business in Nigeria. And it might not be so, right? It might not be so. And people get rejected for different reasons. The point is, fundraising is a marathon. You will meet a lot of no's before you meet a yes. This slide just shows you how long it takes the first 8 months while you're trying to warm up to an investor. And then it can take another 12 months. You're trying to connect with the investor, build relationship. You might have to go for many drinks with the investor, go for some hangouts. A lot of those touch points build connection with an investor. Remember what I've said about connection. A different touch points. You might go for, and I don't call it networking, I call it relationship building, because a 2-minute chit chat over drinks with so many people over cocktail is not relationship building. More than half of the people in the room will not remember each other if they see each other in 3 months. To really make people remember you and you leave a mark, you need to build the relationship, right? And part of relationship building after you have connected to the investor might be, maybe you are in town, you stop by without even the questions or the pressure of asking about fundraising. You just talk, you just, you know them better, they know you better, they know what you're doing. I'll give you a practical example. When I'm trying to, when a company is pitching me or entrepreneurs are pitching to me and they're trying to raise money, and this is a secret for those of you, for you to know when you're fundraising, investors deliberately take their time. Because part of it is that just generally with time, you will know people better, generally. So this delay that you see in fundraising is kind of deliberate, but let me say it's an unintended, it's not intended for you to be deliberate, if you understand what I mean. Because generally, people will know people better the more touch points you have with them. What I do personally, I've gone to a wedding ceremony of one of my potential investees before. I just wanted to know, get another picture about them. They invited me, they were doing something from their company, invited me for drinks. I went. All of these touch points, 2 things, they build connection, but they also paint a canvas for me about the person I want to support. See, numbers are great, but numbers are numbers. What investors invest in is the person, the person running the team or the promoters. That's what investors invest in, right? Because numbers are the numbers. So you want to know that person, especially in a country, in many African countries, sub-Saharan African countries, where you can't rely so much on reference checks or data about people, right? You get information here and there. One of the things we found out when people are trying to raise funds, people in Nigeria, about if they just like, oh, but it's okay, you can, right? So, a simple thing like if market conditions change, will they honor agreements? Are they people of their words? Are they credible? Right? Would they be transparent? Will they be honest? These things are not hardcore on the financial statements, but are the most important elements that an investor wants to establish first before they start going into the numbers and the market opportunity. As a matter of fact, if they are very convinced about the entrepreneurs, there are times where investors have told the entrepreneur, they give the entrepreneur business advice and say, maybe this is your business model, you need to adjust it a little bit and tweak it and push it this way and focus more on this and leave this, because they have now really, 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 really like the entrepreneur and have trusted the entrepreneur, right? And I'm saying all of that to say that process takes time. So naturally, it makes fundraising long. It's not the first time you do that 2-minute pitch. Even if you register an impression, that impression just makes them want to talk to you again. It does not mean the next time they're asking you for financials or they're now deciding they give you a term sheet. They just want to talk to you again. They want to hang out with you to have drinks. They want to ask about your family. They want to know where you've been, what you've done. Where did you go to school? Who were your friends? Why are you doing what you're doing? What are you about? All of the points. It takes time to establish, and therefore, and if you're on the other side, I understand the frustration. Like I said, I'm an intermediary. I invest and also fundraise. So on the fundraising side, I receive the heat too, because sometimes 2-3 years you're still fundraising. On the investor side, right, I'm not the one like doing the investment. But the idea is generally the same. When people want to give you money, the idea is generally the same. So fundraising takes time. So you shouldn't take it personal. But what that means is that you need resilience and staying power. Don't go and plan and think, oh, in 3 months, I'll raise the money. And then you don't raise it, and then you can stay. Sometimes investors delay. I'm telling you investor secret from investor side. Sometimes investors delay in fundraising to even see whether you have enough viability to survive, to just remain, to have to stay in business. Whether you can figure out how to stay. You may not grow because maybe you need the funding to grow to scale. But growing and staying and remaining in business are not the same thing. You need to be able to generate cash flows to continue to stay and meet your obligations. So sometimes they want to see that you even know what it takes. You know what to do to stay. Because you stay long enough, the investment you need to grow will come. So you will receive multiple no's before you get the first yes. Be mentally prepared for that. Be resilient. Don't take it personal. And this is just an example. Some of the companies, they are all foreign companies. We know them. But these are local, easily accessible information everywhere. What do you do when you're now waiting? When the journey is taking longer than you think? And you're not sure. Do they like you? Do they like you? Sometimes they're quiet. Sometimes they come back. They also have some of their own internal processes, priority change, all of these things, and all of that is causing a delay. What do you do? I'm going to tie this entire slide to what I just said. Stay in the game. Don't die. Whatever you do, stay, stay, stay. Make progress. Stay is the first level. Second level, try and make some progress, no matter how hard it is. Generate cash from your customers. Your customers are your biggest, quote and unquote investors. They pay you for that service, generate cash from them. Improve customer retention, improve margins. Don't just be in business for the sake of just staying and you're just making huge losses. Improve margins. Find a way to improve profitability margins. Create a sticky business model where your customers want to come back to you, where they want to do business with you, where one customer can do more and more with you, where whether you have 3 products, they can get product A and product B and product C. So you create stickiness, loyalty, so that customers prefer you. So they buy what you're selling, right? Explore alternative capital options. Alternative capital options can be supplier credits, right? And this is where a little bit. This is where a lot of entrepreneurs are suffering because financial management they don't know. They don't even understand cash flow cycles. How you use supplier credits, right? What is use of cash and what is source of cash in your business? Invest in financial management in your business. Invest in it. Invest in it. Get someone, source to a company that can help you see a good picture of your financial position, of cash flows, and how you can use your own cash flow cycle to run your business. Let me give you a very example. Let's say let me use one of our portfolio companies, produces cassava starch, sells to big companies. Now, generally, big companies, they don't want to pay you on time. They will say, we'll pay you after 90 days. We'll pay you after, whatever, 1 month. But you know what they are doing? They are using your money because if they don't pay you, then that cash is available to do something else. But because you don't understand cash flow, you don't focus on cash flow. You look at a big company, they're going to buy 100 million worth of the starch. So one sale, 100 million. But that one sale, they will not give you cash at all for 3 months. I'm doing very simple analysis. Then you have 2 smaller companies. They will only buy 25 million worth of starch, cassava starch from you. But they will pay you almost cash and carry. Or worst case, 7 days, they'll pay you. Now, your monthly obligation, let's say your monthly obligation is 20 million. In that 3 months that big company, so Entrepreneur A that only thinks about, I want to make large sale. I want to make large sale. We said to big company, collect 100 million, book 100 million revenue, no cash, ask monthly cash obligations of 20 million. So in 3 months, we'll have to go and look for 60 million to make his, to be able to meet his obligation and burn through 60 million. If you go and do all these short-term credits, they'll charge you 5% per month for 20 million to burn through 60 million. In your mind, you've made a big sale, you have big revenue, 100 million. But you are burning through cash, and you don't have cash flow. Company is using your money to do business. Entrepreneur B makes sale of 25 million to 2 small companies, right? They pay them almost immediately, let's say 7 days. In that 3 months, he has made 50 million in cash. Therefore, 50 million that he has made in cash, he can make up 50 million out of his 60 million obligation. And if he needs to borrow money, he borrows 10 million for that period. Let's say at the same 5% interest rate. Who is better off from a cash point of view? So you need to understand financial management, and you need to understand what to prioritize at different points of your business. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, hey, and one big investor has invested in your company and you have this big cash sitting on your balance sheet or in bank, then maybe you can prioritize selling to big investors, booking the big sales, because you have the cash to run for 3 months, right? Without that burden, because you know you have this big investor and you have cash. But if you are fundraising and you don't have that much leeway in terms of cash, then you need to pivot your strategy from just trying to report those big revenues to actually focusing on bankable revenue, earnings quality, the one that gives you cash to stay afloat. Because if you record 100 million revenue, 3 months you cannot pay salaries, 3 months you cannot meet your obligations, 3 months you cannot pay your suppliers, and then you shut down, then what's the point? You could have reported smaller revenue and then you stay longer until fundraising comes through. That is the point. So when I say explore alternative capital options, that alternative capital options can simply be change your revenue mix, your sales mix. Stop selling to people that will not pay you. It can be because what you do is that you free up cash from your business. It can be that you asking for supplier credits where you don't used to ask before. Then you extend your cash runway. That is one way. It can be that you look for family and friends. And I'm going to say this here. One of the lowest hanging fruit that will make a third-party investor confident in investing in you is the fact that somebody close to you invested in you. If, as your business is like this, there is no friend that you have, and there's nobody, your family, there's nobody that you know that you have spoken to and can say, you know what, let me back you with this amount of money. I don't think it's a very good sign to a third-party investor that really doesn't know you. If you don't need an investor, if you have all the cash yourself and invest the cash in the business, that's great. But if you need an investor and you don't know anybody that you can talk to, that is close to you, that can say, let me put this small amount in your business because I trust you, it's not a good sign. The next level to that is if you have even now taken grants and repaid. Oh, that's a fantastic level. The next level to that is if you have borrowed money and repaid, much better. But nobody has invested in you, no family, no friend. You've not taken grants and repaid before. And I'm talking about grants that you repay, repayable grants. You've not taken some loan to repay before. And you're just waiting for investors to just put equity in your business or whatnot. It's not a very convincing sign that people can actually trust you. It may not be true, but I'm just letting you know what the perception is and what the bias is. A few case studies about sometimes this still reinforces or re-emphasizes what I've been saying. Bootstrapping, focusing on generating cash from your business. The two examples there are from the abroad, but we all know Money Point. Money Point is a Nigerian company. Bootstrapping. Sometimes it's even amazing because it helps you build value up to the point where when you now raise the money, you don't get extremely diluted and become resentful. Bootstrapping, focusing on profitability, focusing on paying customers, focusing on cost optimization, expense optimization, minimizing and reducing waste from your business. Discipline for you as an entrepreneur, discipline that you don't say because you see cash there today, you take the cash. You know, discipline, all of those things helps whilst you are waiting on the journey of fundraising. These are my concluding thoughts. I've said, and I will emphasize again, trust is the foundation. There's a likability and affinity bias in fundraising. It is what it is. People back people they like. People back people they trust. People back people they admire. Your first work when you're trying to fundraise is to improve your likability, to make people have positive affinity bias for you so that they can trust you, so that you can break down emotional barriers. That's 70% of fundraising. Of course, as you are on the journey, it's a marathon. You need sometimes mentors, networks. You need to keep growing or at least stay stable and steady while you are trying to raise funds. Investors are long-term partners. Somebody that tells you a no today may tell you a yes tomorrow. Try and invest in the relationships. Try to focus more on relationship building as opposed to just being transactional. Lastly, there are many reasons investors say no. Sometimes it has nothing to do with you. Take the lessons, move forward. Like I've said, it may not be in their ticket size. Their portfolio construction may have been some story around portfolio construction. Their IC, for whatever reason, we just not like your company. There are so many reasons. There are so many great investors that have passed on great opportunities. And those companies went ahead to do very big things, great things, amazing things. It happens. Don't take it personal. Take the lessons, learn from it, move forward. The last point, very important to note, you have to think big and you have to think scale. If you are thinking about just running a business to keep body and soul together, maybe it's not important to go and do fundraising because investors will want growth and scale because that's where their returns will come from. And on that note, I would stop and take questions and comments. Thank you for your attention.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Tosin. I also learned a lot from this, and I hope everyone here learned. I hope you all were listening. I hope you all were listening. Now, if you have questions, I can already see hands up. Ha ha ha. Okay. Without wasting much of our time, let's go straight to the questions. Okay, so I'll just take the question here one after the other. The first hand I can see is Farm Go. Soy Cramari Farm Go. Tell us your Soy Farm Go. Can you unmute, please? Farm Go, can you hear me?
I don't think they can unmute. Maybe you need to enable them to unmute.
Yeah. We've asked him to unmute actually. Okay.
Okay. Hi. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for the presentation. It was really, really insightful and learned a lot. So I have a question around the kind of funding or investment that ventures are seeking and how that influences the approach you take right? So from what I gathered, most of these seem to be geared towards people who are seeking for equity funding, equity investments. But how about for organizations, for companies that are seeking for debt investments, equity, especially the last part around scalability, around showing potential to scale. How important is that if the seeking for is debt investment?
Okay, let me answer that quickly. The reality is that you don't need to pitch much to investors if you are seeking debt, because there are so many opportunities to get debt. The focus, and scale is not as important if it's debt. The focus of debt really is, can your cash flows pay back? Is as simple as that. So they look at what you've done in the past, and they tell you this is the price of the debt, is 25%, is whatever percent. They look at your numbers and try to sensitize it and say, can you pay me back? That's the first thing. If you can't pay back, no conversation. Debt conversations are usually fast. 3 months, you get feedback. Your numbers are not strong enough for the amount you want to raise. Usually, debt does not involve too much storytelling or sensitivity or whatnot, because the reality is that you must have been generating cash flows before you say you want to go and raise debt. If you're not generating cash flows, there's no foundation for the company to even be able to say you can pay back. So most times they'll tell you no. The second thing is that you must have collateral. Nobody wants to do unsecured lending. You must have something that you want to put down, to be able to collateralize that debt. So that's usually what it is. So scale might not be so much of an issue if it's debt. You need to focus on cash flows. In fact, cash flows becomes extremely important if it's debt you want to ask for. You focus on cash flows. You demonstrate the ability that you can pay back the debt. However, credibility and investors liking you cut across everything. If an investor looks at you and believes that and think that for whatever reason that you're not credible, you're not going to honor your obligation, even if it's debt and you have cash flows and you have collateral, they will not loan you the money. Because the first rule of credit is character. People believe, yes, they ask for collateral and all of those things that's backup. But the reason somebody is giving you the money first and foremost is because they believe you pay back. So that whole part of likability, trust, and all of those things still will cut across. It's just that your focus really should be on cash flows and how much you can afford to pay back.
Thank you so much, Tosin. Ikechukwu. Unmute, Ikechukwu.
Hello, good evening, Tosin. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good evening.
Okay, you might not know me, but we've met virtually, and thank you for being real with. It's one thing to do a presentation and then be another person offline. So my contact with you was when I wanted to inquire the ticket size that you guys invest in, and you were straight with it that our business, though it was interesting, but it wasn't the kind of businesses you were looking at to invest. Now to my question. So when you are a growing business, asset light, but in agriculture, which is usually processing, which is usually heavy, you don't have the collateral to back the debt. How do you position? Because the way, from my experience, the way agribusinesses are valued is not similar to what happens in tech. So even when, to the extent you try to look at DCF as the most suitable evaluation, it still comes off as bogus. Let's say you want to raise $250,000, and then you are saying, okay, value us using a DCF valuation. So help to give some context to that. Thank you.
To be very honest with you, when you are at an early stage, it's very hard to do a valuation that investors will believe that, especially when you're not fintech. gets into sort of trading and stuff or something, or on something products they've built. But if you are not fintech, and this is really making it real, and it's quite early stage, it's very hard for investors to be convinced of evaluation. So the approach really at that stage is to use a SAVE. SAVE is simple agreement for future equity, and it's like a convertible instrument where the investor will give you the money for conversion at a future date when you're big enough and you are able to do a proper valuation and therefore a priced round. But to compensate the investor for taking that initial early risk, they would ask for a good discount on whatever that future valuation is going to be. So it is not a science at that stage. It's not DCF. It's not a lot of financial gymnastics that we like to do. It's simply, the first is let the investor believe in the position enough. And they now feel like, okay, I want to back this because it has this growth potential. The conversations around that is really to use a SAFE. You know, if it's like a ticket of like 250K, that's really the conversation. With the intention that when you do a future race, they get, compensated, and they now convert at a major discount to whatever that future transaction will be. I see a question in comments, 20% a good discount for safe transaction. To be honest, I don't know. It depends on how strong you can negotiate and the investor can negotiate. I'm sure if you check online, you will see different ranges, what they do in the US, what they do in Y Combinator, what they do in Africa. I don't have a view as to what a good discount is. I think 20% makes sense. Some investors will ask for 30, some will ask for more. I think 20% makes sense, generally. It makes sense. But if 20% is what you want to give, maybe you start from 15. If you know 20% is where you are going to end, so that you give the investor, so that there's room to negotiate, right? I think that's just what I'm going to say about that. But I think that's the way to approach it.
All right, thank you. Patrick, unmute, please, and ask your question.
Good day, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. Thank you very much. The presentation was impactful. I have a question here. I want to know what are some of the things to consider. Recently, I had an opportunity to pitch out my idea to an investor, a US guy, because we are into cocoa production. We are not only training farmers, we also have our own farm. So I had an opportunity to pitch out the idea to the investor. So one of the issues he brought up was that because when we produce, we export at the end of the day. So he said he's interested not in exporting. He wanted us to have a partnership wherein we start transforming the beans locally on a smaller scale, then transform it into a bigger scale. So next month, we'll be having another pitch wherein we discuss further business. So I consider this presentation very helpful to me. So I want to know what are some of the things you consider when you faced with this kind of issue, when what you have, the ideas you have in your business, the investor is having another picture that can have an overall change to the business you are currently doing. What are some of the factors you consider when meeting with that investor for the second time to try to bring up your ideas to the table? I want to know. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. That's a very important question. I mean, it's quite surprising that an investor is actually saying change your business model before they invest, because changing your business model is actually more risk to their own investment. So I find it quite surprising. I can understand from an impact point of view, maybe they want you to do value addition, but a processing company operation and a trading company are not the same. The kind of skills, capabilities, or execution to set up a plant, even if it's just a locally fabricated processing plants, to have the process run. Manufacturing is different from trading, is where I'm going. So I'm quite surprised that the investor is insisting on that. I think the first thing you need to ask when you see the investor again is why. You need to understand why. Why do they want you to move to do further value addition? Second thing is, you need to be honest about what you can do today and what you can't do. Because when you approach them, you have a business model. Your traction is based on that business model, and that's where you build your competence and experience. You need to be honest with the investor to say, you don't have experience processing, but you are open to exploring it with their backing and support. And this is very important. That backing and support is not just financial backing. It is operational support and operational backing. Will the investor be interested in providing that operational support and backing? For example, will they help with finding people that can run that process? We did help with finding connection to technical partners or to companies, that fabricate their equipment. Those are the questions you need to ask. And you need to be honest about what you can't do so that you don't give an impression that it's okay because you just need the money and then you run into problems. So find out the why, be honest about what your competencies and what your capabilities are, what you can leverage from what you have now, and what you need help with, and ask if they'll provide those additional help apart from just dropping money. So I think those are the things you should focus on when next you talk to the investor.
Thank you, Tosin. Temitope, please ask your questions very, 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 very brief. Keep your questions brief and precise, please. We have a lot of people asking questions.
Good evening, and thank you for the presentation. So my question is actually brief. So in your presentation, you mentioned create sticky products, something around that line. So I just want to understand better what you mean by that.
What I mean is this. I might use an example that is not agribusiness, but you understand the gist and use it, can apply it in agribusiness. Create products that people need on a repeated basis, not something that they buy once and they go. Do you understand? So if you are doing essential oils, for example, where somebody will buy maybe once in 3 months or once in 2 months, yeah, it's okay, but that's not a sticky product. Create something that people will need like every day or every 2 days or every week. Have a product category or an SKU like that. So that's what I mean by sticky products. And it's good to create it in a category that is not crowded. Don't go and create Gary and say it's a sticky product because people take it every time. People can buy Gary everywhere, right? So create something that is not so popular, but at the same time, people tend to use it regularly, which means naturally you can make more sales. That's what a sticky product is.
Thank you. Joshua, unmute and ask your question.
Oh, thank you very much, moderator. Thank you, man, for that very informative presentation. So it's just about risk with mitigation. Like, of course, in agribusiness, we face unique and unpredictable risk, from weather shocks to pest outbreaks and even price fluctuations. And as an agripreneurs, right, we often put measures, right, to we put measures in place to manage or mitigate these challenges. But communicating these effectively to investors might not be always easy. So my question is, how can an agripreneurs best communicate risk mitigation strategies to address concerns about climate and market volatility, especially when speaking to investors who may not really deeply, be familiar with the agricultural space? So how can an agripreneur best communicate risk mitigation strategies? Thank you.
This is a very good question, and it was something I should have mentioned in my presentation that I missed. One of the other things that is very important when you're fundraising is find investors that understand what the space that you are in. One of the big roadblocks, or one of the things that cause the biggest roadblocks for agribusiness entrepreneurs, particularly when they're fundraising, is because they're talking to investors that the only thing they understand is fintech, or the only thing they're interested in is fintech. So they're thinking of agribusiness as fintech. That's the first problem. So try as much as possible, find find investors that are mission aligned, that are in the sector, understand at least high level the risk, they understand the speak So when you're doing the speak about the risk and how you're mitigating it, they understand it. Such that even after they invest in your business and there's an issue, they won't freak out because they understand the risk. Having said that, how do you communicate the risk mitigation? I think the first thing is that don't communicate generic risk mitigation strategies. Break down what are the risks specific to your own business and what have you done in your own business to address that risk. A lot of people do generic risk management and mitigation. For example, climate change is a big risk. You now say you will use adaptive measures to manage the impact of climate change. You haven't said anything. If you are a poultry business, how does climate risk affect your business? If you have small chicks, you can say increase in heat temperature because of extreme weather conditions as a result of climate change. Next to that is you may want to even go to be honest and specific to say in the last 3 years you have had extreme weather temperatures 3 times, which has affected X number of birds. Mitigation, you have put in cooling fans, you have changed this, change that, all of that. Going forward, this is what you'll be doing. Mitigation, you've taken insurance. Mitigation, you've done this. So even when you're talking to investors that understand agribusiness and agribusiness speak, don't be generic. Don't bullshit investors and don't say jargons. Say the specific way this risk affects your business, itemize them, what you have done or you are doing to manage them, and whatever you cannot mitigate or you've not figured out how to mitigate it yet, be honest. And maybe they can brainstorm with you together and figure out how you can mitigate it.
Thank you. Kenneth Odhiambo, please unmute. Kenneth, you can unmute.
Thank you so much. Ebere. First of all, I want to take this opportunity to thank Madam Tosin for taking us through a very interactive session, which is actually very fruitful and productive, even in the field of agriculture. I have only 2 questions or 2 concerns. Number one, I can say that she has addressed actually one of the major challenges that I've been facing, actually maybe looking for investors. And I think maybe whatever I've been maybe trying to do goes along with whatever she has explained. Because for me, I've been trying to maybe apply for the grants, maybe in the agricultural sector. But most of the time, I can say I've been disappointed because most of the time I've been receiving maybe feedback that maybe after that review process, maybe my application has not gone through due to 1 or 2 reasons. And this one actually has disappointed me so much. So I think she has raised some things that maybe can help me to improve next time. And I think maybe she can maybe just expand that maybe on whatever she has explained, if it goes along with also the grants that maybe are available for agricultural sector or investment. Now, secondly, is maybe it cuts across, maybe you can also maybe adopt this, maybe if you can have, of some maybe investors who are interested in the agricultural sector, maybe if we can get those investors, then we can try maybe to bring them on board. And as farmers, we can, who are having maybe well-established companies that are registered, are legally registered, we can try to apply, maybe negotiate the conversation for investment opportunity. So I think you can also help us to do that. Maybe if we can be having a list, being that now we are members, we have registered for membership. I think that one is one of the opportunities that we can always explore. Maybe now my last question to Madam Tosin, or for Madam Tosin, is maybe now when I'm applying for this, maybe I'm trying to get investors. For example, I want to use my example. Recently, I got an investor from Turkey, and after following all the due process, maybe now we are at a point now to sign an agreement there. It was a joint venture investment agreement. And now, when it reached a point whereby we were to sign the agreement, then there was some cost to be incurred, maybe like, for example, the cost of processing documents. Now, I don't. What can you say about these investors? Are they, some of them, maybe they could look, some of them, they would just want to pick your idea. Then when now you are about to now strike the deal, now they start maybe giving you some terms that they know that you cannot afford, maybe some things that they know that you cannot afford because you are just a startup company. Please, what can you say about maybe when it comes to engaging these investors? How do we know that this is a genuine investor and this may be somebody who just want to maybe get my idea and run away with it? And now, what are some of the due diligence that we need to observe now, so that we may not end up in a conmanship business whereby someone wants to call you that maybe for us now to sign this document, you need to give this amount, but after maybe you have signed the agreement, you have given us the amount.
Kenneth, I'm sure. Kenneth, I'm sorry I have to cut you so that every other person can ask question. I'm sure Tosin has picked the center of your question. So let her answer you so that, and then let every other person ask. Okay. I'm so sorry, but we need to move on.
Thank you so much. Okay.
I think generally, I'll answer the last question. I'll just be very quick. I think generally, when you're fundraising, try to work directly with people, try to find investors, connect with investors directly. When you're working with intermediaries, and in the example you gave, I think it sounds like it's an intermediary you're working with, and they say once an agreement is signed, they are going to get paid, or they'll take something. When you're working with an intermediary and you're trying to reach an agreement with them, I think you need to tie it to an actual investment, an actual disbursement, and not just an execution of a term sheet or a contract. An natural disbursement, such that the company, the whatever they are collecting is tied to the funds you raise, a portion of that funds you raise. So incentives are aligned. Otherwise, you pay from your limited cash flow or revenue to these people, and there's no incentive because they've collected money, they've gone. So that's the way to do it. You need to align your incentives. You have to say when you're negotiating the contract with them, to say, until I find an investor and we close, if I'm even going to pay you anything ahead, it's going to be very tiny. We need to align everything to that close if you are going through an intermediary.
Okay, thank you, Tosin. So can we move on, or you had that question?
Yes.
Okay, Raphael, let's hear you.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Yeah, my question goes like this, but I will tell some testimony from AFC, what they did. I've been with AFC for 2 to 3 years now. The question is, how can an African that is growing a startup company grow without an investor? Because I have told myself that I want to grow my company without investor. And I have seen my growth while filing my annual return yearly, that I'm growing and I'm in a progressive, let me say, platform. Recently, I have 10 tons to supply to the US and the UK. The one from the UK send 70% of the money we agreed. And the one for the US says you go and look for money. On Sunday, I went to the church. I tell my story to a financier. Within an hour, she gave me 3 million to return within 2 months. That is the testimony. But the question again, how can an African grow a startup company without an investor? That I promised myself. Thank you.
The reality is that you can grow without an investor. There's so many companies that have not raised money and they've grown. So there's no rule that really says you have to get an investor. But you can grow. Actually, the simplest way to grow is from your sales. You get sales from your customers, you generate profits, you retain the profits, you reinvest the profits in your business, and you grow. It's the time-tested, old-fashioned way. It's not fast. is slow, but if you master it and you understand your business model very well, you grow at your own pace. So you don't have to raise money from an investor, right? And you don't have to take a loan as well. It's good to take a loan because loan teaches you a few other things about financial management and discipline, especially if you have cash flows to be able to pay the loan. And generally speaking, from an equity point of view, this is financial stuff. Debt has certain advantages tied to whether you can pay back and you understand cash flows and all of those things. But really, you can grow at your own pace. There's nothing that says you have to take an investment. But to grow at your own pace is all of the things I've said in the presentation. Focus on your customers, focus on profitability, generate sales, create sticky products, improve sales, improve margin, have good financial management practices, financial reporting practices, so that you're profitable, you have retained earnings, you reinvest the retained earnings in your business, and you grow. You grow at your own pace. That's also a way to grow.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll have two more before we let Tosin move on. Pierre, can we have you on mute, please? Pierre. Is Pierre still here?
I am here.
Pierre, on mute, please.
Okay, bonsoir à tous.
Great. We can hear you. Just proceed.
Merci pour cette présentation. Donc, en fait, moi, ma question est de savoir comment un entrepreneur peut adapter son pitch donc, à des différents types d'investisseurs, donc tels que les business angels, les fonds, les bailleurs de fonds du public. Et ma deuxième question est de savoir quels sont les indicateurs financiers que les investisseurs analysent en priorité. Merci.
Are you done? Okay, you've noted it.
Yes, this is preview. I can't edit here, except I go back.
I thought I was creating a meeting.
Okay. Who is there? Okay. So that was one of our francophone audience, and he asked, how can we make what's the simplest basic information we need to have about making a good pitch. He wants to have that as a key takeaway. So how can he make a good pitch to an investor?
Okay, thank you. So just to clarify, by a pitch, you mean when you have the
presentation? Yes.
Pitch to an investor, not a document.
Yes, a presentation. Yes. How can you make a good pitch, and how can you emphasize on the management of their organizations? I think what he's talking about is how to show. Is it necessary to spend so much time on your team?
Like I said at the beginning,
capacity and all of that.
I said at the beginning, when you have usually these pitches that you have to make to an investor is within 2 to 5 minutes, most presentations. When you have that short amount of time to stand in front of someone or people to talk about your company for the first time, you should try to connect to them. And you connect to people by telling a story. So spend most of that time. So let me give an example. Practice. Sahel Capital, I'm raising a fund. In 2 minutes, I want to tell a story. I'm in front of an investor. I'll just paraphrase. I'll say, start with, good afternoon, investors. I appreciate the privilege or the opportunity to be in front of you all. My name is X and Y. My name is Tosin Ojo. I'm a partner at Sahel Capital. We are an agribusiness investor investing in 13 sub-Saharan African countries. We have portfolio in 7 countries. We're solving a very simple problem. Africa exports X billion, or Africa imports X billion of food, and post-harvest waste in Africa is about 40%. At the same time, malnutrition is at this level, and this is at this level. COVID-19 showed us that countries in continent like Africa, particularly exposed to shocks in global supply chain, making it imperative that we have to develop domestic food ecosystem and build the resilience of supply chain. At Sahel Capital, that is the problem we're solving. We're solving it through a team of 21 professionals in 3 countries in Africa. We've invested in 31 companies, invested debt and equity, and we've impacted over 1 million people directly and indirectly. I would like you all to partner with us on this journey to grow as we seek to raise $2 million for our next growth phase that will enable us scale our operations to be able to impact 2 million more people. Simple. I've done that in 2 minutes. So that's how you connect when you want to raise who you are, the problem you're solving. By the way, I didn't practice this. So there are still itches and glitches and all of that. Who you are, the problem you are solving, very clearly articulated, the traction you have had. In the pitch I made, I still have connected the team and the people, but I didn't go into details. They have MBA, they have MSc, they have you can't do that. You lose people. You want to connect to people. I talked about malnutrition. I talked about post-harvest losses. I talked about how COVID-19 made Africa food systems more, less resilient. Those are things that connect with people that are interested in trying to solve this problem in Africa.
Thank you, Tosin.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tosin. You all should not worry. You will get the recordings of today's session so that you can go over it again, especially this part that she gave a sample pitch. You can also use that as your own template for your own preparation. I'm so sorry, but I will take just one more question, please. The rest of you, please send us your questions and we'll forward them to her, and I'm very sure she'll be able to answer your questions. Please send us your questions. You can type them on the chat. We'll pick those questions, compile them, and send to her afterwards, and she'll give us answers to them. You will get your recordings most definitely, and even the slides. So one more question. Let us hear from Kalambo Fatso. I hope I got your name right. Kalambo, yes.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead,
Hello.
Kalambo. Go ahead,
Sorry,
Kalambo. Go ahead. We can hear. Go ahead.
My first name is a Chewa word, so it's difficult to pronounce. It's Mpato Haris Kalambo, so it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, Mpato.
Yeah. So my question would be too practical. I've tried to search for investors. I don't know if the method I was using is good or not. I would just know this person has money, is investing in agriculture. I'll just go there, search for the contacts, and then I have the messages, that emails. But I've never worked. I've never pitched before. But now, after 2 years, I bought a land and started practicing whatever the idea that I had for 5 years. So I registered my company, and then I started doing traditional goat houses and pig houses, and then rabbit houses. And now I want to ask Tosin. I've done this, and then I don't have the goats, I don't have the rabbits and the like. My idea is now to ask people that, have you seen these things? But then I'm liking this and this. Do you think that's a good idea to find investors? Or there's anything you can advise me to take from there? Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't get the question. Sorry, I didn't. If you can just repeat the last 2 sentences, please.
Okay, I was asking, is that idea of building the livestock houses and then start searching for investors, can it work? Do you think can it work? If yes or no, what is your advice?
So I think you've given very limited information about it, understandably so, because on the call. So it's difficult to give yes or no because there's very limited information around livestock houses that you're building. Questions that investors want to ask you is the location, what's your market, what market are you targeting, and whether there's competition around, whether you've secured the offtake for that market, or just building the houses. So after building the house, not working capital. So there's a lot of questions they're going to need to ask. So it's a bit difficult to say whether it's a good or a bad idea. If you're doing it where there's deficits, there's good demand, strong demand, you secured buyers who will take from you, all of those things, then of course, they will just ask you how will you mitigate the risk, because of course, as you know, agribusiness, whether it's crop or livestock, there's a lot of risk. So what do you have what it takes to manage the risk? Who else are the people on your team that will work with you to help you manage it? So I think to summarize, I would say it's a bit difficult to be able to give a yes or a no without having a little bit more of additional information about your proposed project.
Thank you, Tosin. Thank you so much. Let me crave your indulgence, please. There are a few questions in the chat that I missed earlier on. You answered one, but I'll just ask them at a go, and then you answer them in summary, and then we close, please. So one is asking, one asked, what kind of business or venture do investors prefer, profit or non-profit? Another one asked, for a startup with little financials, or with poor financials, how can they communicate to investors traction when they have really not earned enough or earned a lot, in their business? And then one last question is, what type of funding or grants would you recommend for an agri startup offering training services? And what are the likely organizations that offer these opportunities? So if you're able to answer these questions for us,
I had the first one. This last, what's the second, please?
Okay, so the second is, for a startup with very poor financials, how can they communicate to investors business traction? How can they communicate traction to
Okay,
investors?
I'll start with that one. Communicate traction based on the operations. What have you done? How many customers do you have? How many volume of goods, whatever it is you are producing, have you produced? How many portion of land have you cultivated? What did you sell? Cultivate traction operationally. It's the operations that lead to the financials. So when they see the traction you've had operationally and in sales and in marketing, real traction, not just we do advertisement on whatnot. When they see real traction, you have real customers, you've reached 20,000 people, 5,000 is converted, 1,000 is signed up, they are paying, whatever it is, communicate. In operational metrics, communicate your traction. Investors understand if you're not making profits yet, they understand that you're a startup. The first question, profit or not profit. A non-profit is not a business in that sense, because investors want returns. By statutorily, a non-profit cannot distribute whatever upside they have. So it's not a business that investors invest in. The best for non-profit is grants. So if you are doing a business that has potential to grow, to generate profit, and you're doing it as a non-profit, I don't think you have the right registration, because no matter how much you make in a non-profit, it is not distributable. You cannot share it. And investors want returns. Returns will come from distributions. And then the last question, agribusiness training. What kind of investors invest in that business? I'm very honest, generally investors don't like training businesses. And the reason is what I've told you on my last slide, scalability. In finance, there's something we call unit economics, and there's something we call marginal revenue and marginal cost. For a business that is great, marginal revenue should always be greater than marginal cost. Substantially. When you have a business that the marginal revenue increase, I'll explain what that means. alongside as marginal cost increases, growth is not profitable, is not return accretive for that business. What I mean is this: for training businesses, one person can only train X number of people. To be able to train more people, you need more people to train. If you understand what I mean. Except you now change it to virtual trainings, you now have subscription platforms or things like that. That way, you have pivoted it from a traditional training business to something that is tech and is able to scale without you having to hire people and hire people and hire people and hire people. That is what I mean. Generally, investors don't like training businesses that can't scale without a commensurate increase in the operating costs or in the expense. That's what I mean. So you have to figure out another way in which the business can scale without you incurring a commensurate increase in costs because of scale. Otherwise, scale is return dilutive, not return accretive.
Okay, thank you very much, Tosin. I need to see rounds of applauses in the chat box. Just keep saying thank you, thank you. If you picked up something from today's lecture, just drop thank you. Drop thank you. How you feel, tell us how you feel. Thank you. Just keep clapping, tell her thank you. Thank you so much, Tosin. While we are doing that, let us turn on our videos. I want to see everybody smile so that we can take a picture. Everybody turn on your video, please. Mine is on and I'm going to try to smile. Stephen Ojo, I can't see you. I need to see everybody's picture, everybody's video, please. Yes. So turn on your videos and team member will take us a picture. Samuel, where is your on? Turn on your video and you can take the pictures too on your end and post on your social media so everybody knows that you are part of today's event. So team members on the call, have you taken the picture? Give us your best smile, everybody. Thank you very much. Once again, thank you to for joining us today. We really appreciate your exposing everything that you know about investments, and I'm very sure everyone here has learned a lot. We'll go back to the drawing board and rework our plans, rework our business models so that they will be attractive to investors. Thank you so much once again, Tosin. Really appreciate it. And I'm hoping that when we call you again, Tosin, you would indulge us, you show up again and share more insights with us. Thank you so much. All right, let's move on. Next month, June, for our June edition, holding on the 26th of June 2025, we will be talking about navigating bank-funded solutions for African agri-businesses. Bank-funded solutions for African agri-businesses. And we would have one of the bankers be with us next month. I would not mention the bank's name. Just make sure you don't miss it so that when you come, you can ask the bank all the questions. A lot of businesses are wary about taking loans from banks because they don't think that banks would add value. But I tell you for free that there are a lot of opportunities, funding opportunities by banks, but we are missing out on them because of our bias. So don't miss that session. Come with all your questions, with all your reservations. Ask the banker all those questions and he'll be there to attend to your question. Thursday, 26th June 2025, 3 p.m. West African time. Go and put it on your diary so that you don't forget. Next steps, subscribe to our social media handles so that you don't miss out on any of our programs or initiatives. We also share opportunities on our social media handles, newsletters, and all kinds of information. You don't want to miss it. Go on, we are very active on Instagram, YouTube. You will find these recordings on YouTube. You'll find past recordings on YouTube. You'll find us on Facebook, on Instagram, and X. And also visit our website to learn more about African Food Change Makers, www.afchub.org. And those that are of us here that are members of this community, make sure you visit your portal to see the funding opportunities that are out there. Don't miss out on them. A lot of people send me message and say, I need funding, but there are a lot of funding opportunities on the whole. Go to your portal, log in today, and take advantage of those opportunities. On these notes, from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of the African Food Chain Makers team, I say thank you for attending today's session. Thank you for participating. Thank you for connecting. Thank you for making today's session an interesting one. I wish you all a wonderful Thursday and a beautiful weekend that's to come beginning from tomorrow. Have a lovely evening. Cheers, everyone.